I'm going to come back to a point which we were talking about briefly just now, about you had seen this old school friend who pulled up in a new Audi A5 and you're comparing your life amongst his. Now, we live in a day and age right now where people say we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to anyone else. We should be doing our own thing, which I agree with that side of things. But also my question to you is, do you think comparing yourself with people also has its benefits because it kind of gives you that awakening?
It definitely does. Yeah, because it shows you what's possible. You know, so when I talk to people, in fact, I got a YouTube comment this morning on one of my videos where I was talking about what I used to charge for my trading program at the end of the company, which was $8,500. And someone said, like, it was a polite comment, but they basically said, you know, Will, thanks for the video, but I just don't understand why someone would give you $8,500 for a training program. Like, do people really pay it? Is it real? So, you know, I replied and said, yes, it is. And I'm glad that you're finally here and you can learn it and see it now being done. But it just reminded me, some people simply don't know that this stuff is real and it can be done. So to answer your question, man, when you see someone in a Lamborghini or when you see someone living on the Palm or buying a Patek Philippe or whatever, I think you can take it in two ways. You can either take it in a hateful way because you don't have it, or you can take it in an inspiring way where you're like, well, if, like, similar to me, like I was saying earlier, if they can get it, surely I can figure out how they've got that and get it myself.
Yeah.
So,
at what point did you get that then?
Get what?
Let's just say the A5, or on that level, on par with your old school friend. Because you must have had a reflection point at some point where you thought, okay, cool, I've made some money now. I remember seeing so-and-so with that lifestyle, and now here we are today as well.
That's a good question, man. That's a really good question. Well, I think...
So today's sponsor is here to help you revolutionize your trading game. Alpha Capital Group are a UK-based prop firm, a team of elite financial professionals empowering traders with the tools and resources needed to achieve vast amounts of success. They offer 0% commission, no time limits, one-to-one mentoring sessions to develop and enhance your skills, and so much more. Guys, I know you're looking to level up your trading game, so sign up to Alpha Capital Group using the link in the description or the code on the screen right now for a discount.
What was like the first substantial thing that I bought? Well, let me tell you this. So for some reason, I've always been, maybe not so much now, but certainly for the first 2 or 3 or 4 years of the business growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger to the stage where you're making millions a year, I was always quite scared of money still. And I thought, I better hold on to this, you know, in case this ends tomorrow, or I better invest this and keep it. And I think that healthy fear actually did me a lot of favors, because all the money pretty much that I've ever made, I've always just bought real estate with cash with it. And I think one of the first substantial things I ever bought that was pretty big was a 2-bedroom apartment in Manchester back in maybe 2021, 2020.
Oh, so that's fairly recent then.
Yeah, well, the education business started in 2018. And we did about 27 grand that first year, from like April to the end of the year. The next year we did about 270k. The following year we did about 1.3 million. And on that third year was where I was starting to really make a substantial amount of money, tax aside. But nonetheless, I remember buying this apartment, I think it was about £210,000 cash in Manchester. Brand new build, sick, beautiful apartment for the property portfolio. And I remember that was like, wow, that's pretty cool to be able to buy this with cash.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Do you know what I've noted from your story as well, from reading upon it and also from seeing other podcasts or talking about it amongst friends, is that you've never been that guy to waste money. You've always seemed like you've always had some sort of wealth investment strategy. As you said, the first lot of money you made, you had bought an apartment or you had bought a house. I think even in your book, it mentions that you bought a house somewhere in your area, right? For £51,000. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So carry on.
Yeah. So I was going to say, just on that point there, even then you've always had investment strategy from day one. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I'm glad that you've said that, because it allows us to backtrack a bit. Now, back when I was just doing music alone, I went to a few property seminars, and I remember thinking, if I live like a pauper, stay at home, do not have a nice car, do not have nice clothes, do not really go out and just work, if I do that, maybe I could save up enough to buy a little house, rent it out, £400 or £500 a month, do the same again, and eventually, this is my original plan, was to just get 2 or 3 houses, get maybe £1.5 a month rent, pay my bills with that, do music for fun, right? And then the trading accelerated that, And it kind of spiraled from there, really. But you are right, because I bought my first house. I won't say where, near to Burnley in the north of England, £51,000, with a mortgage back then.
Yeah.
And that was just on the cusp of, I've made a little bit of money from trading. Most of it was saved up from music. I think I bought that when I was about 23, 4. And that was my first ever one. So, yeah.
And you're how old now?
33.
And you still own that property?
Oh, yeah.
Which is sick.
Yeah, I've never sold a single property.
But do you know what it reminds me of? There's a saying that goes around, and it's been in my head more than ever now. It's about being rich and not looking rich, which I feel like I'm going to be completely honest. I was probably a victim of that saying maybe last year or 2 years ago. Yeah. But I also think seeing a lot of people on social media also are victims of that, of wanting to look rich as opposed to being rich.
Dude.
So when we have people like yourself coming and saying this, I love it, because this is actually how you build, as you say on the book, 10 million. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think if I took my watch off and put some trainers on and walked down the street wearing like black jeans and a white t-shirt, I don't think you would ever be aware of the kind of income that I produce and the wealth. But I definitely think trying to look rich is really stupid, and it's really going to slow you down, and it's just a waste of money. I really think it's a waste of money. I'd put a little caveat in there, because I remember when I first ever moved to Dubai, and I won't name names, but some of my good friends were bigger on, like, one of my buddies, every month, I believe, he puts 10% of his cash aside and just wastes it on maybe a watch or a big holiday or a yacht or a private flight or whatever.
So regardless of how much he earns, it's always 10%.
Yeah, I mean, he earns a lot of money, you know, so that might be...
His 10% might be 100 grand.
Yeah, if I had to guess, 40 grand.
Okay.
50, 60 grand.
Still a lot of money, yeah.
Yeah, so, but if you see this guy, I mean, he has a lot of watches, a few cars, fantastic holidays, and I really respected that. I thought that was actually a great thing to do, because it's not good to hoard money, because it puts you in the scarcity mindset.
And what do you mean by that?
So what I mean by that is, like I was saying, for the first 2 or 3 or 4 years of the education company and making a hell of a lot of money, I was very much like, this has a lifespan. I don't know what I'm going to do after this. I may not have any skills or talents to capitalize on after this. I'd better save all this money, invest all this money, buy everything for cash so there's no debt that can fuck me in the future. But it was driven by scarcity. You know, I wasn't thinking, I'll make money for years to come. You know, I can be a big success for a sustained period of time. I can achieve any goal, any dream for the rest of my life, because I think I think a bit of healthy fear is a good thing, because some things don't last forever. You know, things can change. You may not be successful forever. So I think it's nice. I mean, that's the point of wealth, isn't it? You know, to build it so that if anything does change, or if you ever want to stop working or whatever,
you still have money coming in.
You've got that bed.
Yeah, you've got that backup. Yeah, which I think is great, because even now that you've sold your company, I'm sure, which we'll get onto later on. But for example, I'm sure you have many more properties and many more assets, but you still have them. So passive rent, whatever the case may be, you still have a plethora of wealth there, even though you're not actively working on a business at the moment.
Yeah,
which is great. But just to bring it back to the start of you starting education. Now at a point where, as you mentioned earlier in the podcast, towards the end of the business, you were charging $8.5 grand, pounds, dollars per education. What was it that you're selling exactly?
Yeah, so it was a training program.
Oh, so it was still the training. Okay, yeah.
It was, yeah. So that last e-learning company was a trading education company, and we scaled it very, very far. So when I sold that, we were doing about $850,000 a month.
Yep.
We had a team of 16 people, and yeah, it was a big operation, man.
850,000 a month. When you break that down, it's only 100 sales a month, right?
Well, more or less, because we do payment plans, so it wasn't all cash collected.
Yeah.
There was a split between the cash and the rev.
Yeah,
for sure.
But we will talk about this downstairs. It's the fact that you go by, and I think you mentioned it in the book as well, the 1% rule. And when I say 100 people, I say only 100 people, but in perspective of how many people there actually are that you could sell it to, and I'm sure how many ads you would have thrown out there and how many people would have seen it, 100 people to make $850,000 a month on average is incredible. And that's just at 1%.
Dude, we were spending a lot on ads. I mean, we were spending a good, around $250,000 a month on ads to make that 850. You know, so it was very paid traffic driven, which is a whole nother conversation. It's a great thing to have paid ads behind you. But yeah, the power of 1%, man. It's, I mean, like we were talking about for the podcast, if you've got even 1,000 people, you know, maybe you've got 1,000 followers on Instagram, but they're quality, bought in followers with a lot of trust and respect for you.
Yeah.
If you did maybe a $5,000 mastermind, one person, you know, would probably buy it. So.
Okay, but then, let's talk about this, right? One person will buy it, but at the end of the day, at a mastermind, you want several people.
Yeah, I mean, God, there's so many things you can sell. I mean, you can do an online course, you can do more of a training program, you can do group coaching, one-to-one consulting, which is what I do right now. I've got a training program and I do one-to-one consulting with people. You can do a one-day workshop, which I've just started doing here in Dubai, which is cool.
What do you do in the workshop?
So the workshop is for beginners who usually they have people like yourself. So with an audience or a great idea for an offer, and I do a 1 full day workshop, which is 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I get in a room with everybody and we cover the main pillars of building one of these online education businesses. So creating an offer, pricing it well, knowing what you want to deliver. Are you going to do a mastermind, a workshop, a course, a training program, group coaching, one-to-one, a community? And I just help them dial it in. And they go away from that 1 day workshop able to go and do it and make it happen and start making sales, basically. So.
But it also comes down to their mindset as well, if they actually make it happen. Because someone could easily spend that money and then go away and just relax or be lazy.
I'm glad that you've said that because I want to add another thing. Now, I charge £2,000 per person and I do 20 people for that 1 day workshop.
Yep.
The reason it's £2,000 is because it's just high enough so that people really, really care, but it's low enough so that, you know, any serious person can, you know, that's an adult can afford that.
Yeah, it's high quality people that you get as well.
Yeah, and this is, pricing is so important because if you undercharge, you attract lower quality people. If you know, price is a reflection of value, but also it carries a perception, right? So if someone's program is $8,500, it's got to be good, man. It's got to, it's you know, that's some substantial stuff.
It's got to be something that you would pay as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So then how do you actually come up with price point?
Well, the real way you do it is to test within the market. You know, I mean, like I was saying to you earlier, start low and it's probably going to work. Maybe just come up a little bit and just see what people am I attracting. Do they take it seriously?
Yep.
Do they therefore get results or not?
Yep.
And then you can kind of play with it from there and go up if it's appropriate, come back down if it's appropriate.
Yep.
And you experiment and you dial it in. And eventually you find the sweet spot, which was at 8.5 for us. That was our sweet spot.